Selected TES, Talmud Eser Sefirot. And we'll be going over today over correction and sorting.
The Holy RE, number 10. It is written in Idrat Naso, page 131. Some were corrected and some were not corrected. This does not mean that there are some Melachim, kings, among them that were corrected and some that were not corrected. Rather, it means that some were sorted and corrected from them, from the actual Melachim, kings themselves, from each and every part of them, and that a part of them in each and every one of them was not corrected and remained below. Talmud Eser Sefirot, part 7. Explanation. It is written in Holy Zohar, some were corrected and were not corrected. This does not mean that some desires to rule GE were corrected and some desires to rule were not corrected. Rather, it means that part of each desire to rule had parts that did not break in breaking of the vessels, or therefore were still intact, while other parts of the desire to rule GE broke and mingled with the will to receive Ahab and stayed below the parsa, separation between GE and Ahab. Those desires still drag us down into corporeal thoughts of tension and misunderstanding between what desires are of internal power, GE, and what desires belong to our corporal deficiencies, Ahab.
Breaking to correction, number 10. Some were corrected and some were not corrected, etc. A part of each and every one of them was not corrected and remained below. It is a partsuf, face, of one Adam, man, having correspondent klipot, shells, from its rosh, head, to its raglaim, legs, meaning opposite all the 5 partsufim, faces, de zon, de atzilut, small face, and female of the world of emanation. These 5 partsufim, faces, that were sorted and became olam atzilut, the world of emanation. Each of them left parts of it that were still not sorted, but are destined to be sorted by raising man, prayer, from the work of the righteous throughout the 6,000 years of Olam HaTikun, world of correction. Explanation. After breaking of the vessels, phase 2.3, our desires of GE, controller, and Ahab, controlled, are intertwined and need to be sorted out and corrected. We start with the desires for control, GE, and fortify them, phase 2.4, by cleaning those concepts and separating them from the egoistic desires that desire change, Ahab. When we then enter our protection, Atzilut, fortress of solitude, phase 3.1. We continue, phase 3.2, to clean the differences between our desires for power and control, GE, and our desires for relaxation and pleasure, Ahab. We then start phase 3.3 to feel the limitations of our protection, since we need our egoistic desires, Ahab, from the expression to be successful using our desires of bestowal, GE. We anticipate, phase 3.4, that what we need is to accept our situation and accept the differences between our desires. We then raise our various egoistic desires, Ahab, which are set into 3 stages of difficulty, world of correction, called Beria, phase 4.1, Yetzirah, phase 4.2, and Asiya, phase 4.3, into our desires for control and manipulation, GE.
The reward of the righteous. Know that remains of the above partsufim, faces de absolute, world of emanation, that remained unsorted, are the good reward awaiting the righteous, because the world is created in 10 utterances, meaning the 10 kalim, vessels, de absolute, world of emanation, in behinat, discernment, association of midat rakamim, the attribute of mercy, with din, judgment. Explanation. The reward is always for the egoistic desires a hop. Power is not considered a reward since you have power, but do not get power. Reward is always something given. The egotistic desires a hop is what enables us to have corporeal deficiencies, to need manipulation, GE, in the first place. Experiences of tension, judgment, combined with experiences of alignment, mercy, need to be identified, sorted, and corrected.
Tension and alignment. It is by that the conduct of reward and punishment was made in the world. This is because the two states of Zon, small face and female, Katnut, smallness, Gatlut, greatness, and by doing good deeds, they raise Man, prayer, to Zon, small face and female, by which it attains the Gatlut, greatness, and Gar, calculation of expression, and a Rakameen, mercy, appeared. Explanation. We can either experience situations of tension, smallness, and alignment, greatness. Situations of tension are when we are faced with experiences that we feel that we have no control over. Situations of alignment are when we do feel control over our experiences. Expression is when we feel that alignment before the experience manifests. By cleaning concepts, good deeds, we raise a request, man, prayer, of converting tension, smallness, to alignment, greatness. Smallness is called Zak, lower 7 Sephiroth, while greatness is called Gar, first 3 Sephiroth. This is because Zak, the lower 7 Sephiroth, is dealing with the result of the expression of power, while Gar, the first 3 Sephiroth, is dealing with the calculation behind the expression. Then alignment, mercy, is revealed in the situation.
Dirty before cleansing. If they do bad deeds, by that they cause Zon, small face and female, to return to the state of Katnut, smallness, and a conduct of din, judgment, manifests in the world. It is also the same for each and every individual relating to one's own neshama, soul. Yet here you should understand that there is no absence in the spiritual, much less in the absolute, the world of emanation, where he is one and his name is one. Explanation. Cleaning concepts is called good deeds, while dirty concepts are called bad deeds. Dirty concepts are the prerequisite for cleaning concepts, as it says, for there is no righteous man on earth who does good and sins not. Ecclesiastes 7:20. Dirty concepts are what bring situations of tension, smallness, into our lives before the end of correction. This is felt as judgment manifesting in our experiences. It depends on the specific pain point of each person. Unlike the corporeal movements, spiritual states are layered one on top of the other. This is especially true in the state of Absolute, phase 3.1 plus, where you are in the domain of the Creator, GE, fortified without allowing space for external situations to wear you down.
States do not disappear. A matter of mochin mind, the of Gadlut greatness and Katnut smallness, that travel back and forth in Zeranpin, small face, the Atzilut, world of emanation, by the actions of the Tachtonim, lower ones, does not mean that when the mochin mind, the Katnut smallness, is absent, the previous mochin mind, the Gadlut greatness, vanish. Rather, there is only an addition here, as the previous mochin mind, the Gadlut greatness, that were extended through the work of the righteous remain forever, unchanged at all by the bad deeds of the wicked. Explanation. The issue of the states of alignment, greatness, and tension, smallness, that appear and disappear in our fortified protection, GE, that are caused by cleaning concepts, actions of the lower ones, does not mean that when the previous state of alignment, greatness, is absent, that it actually vanished. Rather, there is only an additional state of tension, smallness, added to the stack that is unfazed by the new dirty concepts, bad deeds that have arisen. Righteous, mature, are when they have alignment no matter if in externality there is tension. Wicked, immature, are when they lack alignment even if externally there is no tension.
Last thing on my mind. Instead, the wicked caused a Behinah, discernment, a new Mohin, mind, to be made, additional to the previous Mohin, mind. Through the conduct of the world is always through the Mohin, mind, that is added last. Thus, the chain of time we find in this world, in terms of past and present, extends to us from the Elim upper worlds, from the Prahimnut internality in the Hitzanut externality. The past extends from the Premanut internality, and the present extends from the Hitzanut externality. The Hitzanut externality is always apparent to us in this world, and the Premanut internality is hidden from us and does not serve us at all, but is destined to appear before us in the future, at Gar Tkum, end of correction. Explanation. The revealed immature concepts, wicked, caused a new state to awaken on top of the previous state. Through our experience goes by the state added to our stack of states. Thus, the corporeal sense of time, past and present, extend from our perception, spirituality, from internality, past, externality, present. Our internal state is hidden from us, but are stored nonetheless until we reach the end of correction, phase 4.4.4, which then appear to us at once as an increased sense of liveliness that does not disappear anymore.
Work after correction. This is the meaning of righteous have no rest, not in this world and not in the next. This does not refer to the next world after they die, as it is shown, set free among the dead. Instead, some righteous are awarded the Oriot lights of the next world in their life. Our sages tell us that even those great righteous that have already been awarded the next world in their life have no rest. Instead, they must face labor in the holy work and always come in Behinat Akorayim, backside discernment, that precede the Panim face in order to raise Man, prayer, to a new, higher Mokin, mind. Explanation. This is the meaning of the righteous, mature, have no rest, not in this world, before end of correction, and not in the next world, after end of correction. This does not refer to physical death, as it is known that the dead do not feel anything. Instead, people that reach end of correction are awarded the liveliness, lights of their corporeal experiences. Even though they are full of high spirit, they continue to advance in expressions of internal power. New situations of tension arrive externally, backside, that precede situations of alignment, face, in order to reach a request for more internal power.
Sorting. This is done because there is sorting in the Partsufim faces, Vigar, first three Sefirot, D of Zah, Zerapet 2, above the Oro lights of the next world. This is the meaning of the Partsufim faces of the Neshamat souls being destined to clothe up to Komat, height, Adam Kadmon, primordial man, D of Asiya, action. At that time, they will equalize the Koma, height, of the Hay, 5 Partsufim faces, the Adam Kadmon, primordial man, and this will be explained in its place. Explanation. This is so because there is sorting of bestowal desires, GE, and reception desires, AHA. and the calculation behind expression, gar, in the private providence of Zer Apinzon. This is the meaning of the internal power being destined to close up to the height of the eye has not seen. At that time they will equalize with the height of the full structure of absolute internal power, and this will be explained in its place.
No absence at end of correction. The matter of this halbasha, clothing, that the neshamot, souls, are awarded clothing the partzafim elyonim, upper faces, means the good reward. It is hidden for the righteous in the future. Because of all the mochin mind, extended by raising man, prayer, that they raise by the good deeds that they do, though afterwards they come in pchinat achoraim, backside discernment, and cause katnus, smallness, in zon, small face and female. Again, we see that the previous mochin mind, the gadlut, greatness, are not absent. Instead, they come as pnimiut, internality. Hence, they have a way of always extending the new mochin mind. The first mochin mind come to them in pnimiut, internality, in a way that they extend a higher mochin mind every time. Explanation. The matter of this sensation that we feel when we reach end of correction is hidden for us until we reach that state. Because of all that states of mind that are extended by raising requests for more internal power by the clean concepts, though afterwards they come in a state of external tension, smallness, we see that the previous state of mind of alignment, greatness, are not absent. Instead, they come as internality. Hence, they have a way of always extending new states of mind. The first state of mind comes to them in internality, in a way that they extend a higher state of mind, of internal power every time.
Storing states. Also, all these mochen mind that were drawn to the partzafim alinim, upper faces, through the man, prayer, that they raised, all these belong to their share, though in the present they enjoy only the last mohin mind that they have extended. The previous mohin mind remain forever. However, they do not use them in the present, so that they will be able to increase strength and go from strength to strength. In the future, they will all acquire all these mohin mind that were drawn by them at once. Explanation. Also, all these states of mind that were drawn to our internal power through a request that we raise, all these belong to our share, though in the present, before end of correction, they enjoy only the last state of mind that have extended. The previous state of mind remains forever. However, they do not use them in the present, before end of correction, so that they will be able to increase internal power and go from perfection to perfection. In the future, at end of correction, they will all acquire all these states of mind that were previously stored at once.
Building our future share. This is the meaning of what our sages said. The Creator is destined to impart every righteous 310 worlds. As it is said, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and that I may fill their treasuries. The end of Masatek O Kazan. It means that the Mohin mind that they have extended in the Olama, Element, upper worlds, is their share in the future. Explanation. This is the meaning of what our sages said, that each person at the end of correction will have internal power at the degree of reward to express themselves to their egoism. 310 in Hebrew is sheh, which means gift, reward. The will to receive will have the reward from the internal power within us, because we have reached love of self accordingly. It means that the states of mind that we have extended in the worlds of internal power is our share in the future at the end of correction.
So what do you think?
I think it's all a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, same here. But I got a couple little bits and pieces, and it's a fantastic. It's a lot of substance here, and we could unpack this for quite a while.
On a
I like the tension and alignment part was very helpful. You know, like you say, we can listen to the rat for an hour and get 1 or 2 points. You know,
basically what this whole thing is talking about, it's talking about after the barrier, of course, and it's talking about after the breaking the vessels, we go through various states of sorting and correction. It's basically talking about how, it's talking about what happens before and what happens after to give you that contrast accordingly. So the idea is that before you're going through these various states, and you're always only feeling your lost state within you. And then after into correction, you basically receive all those states basically activated in you. And then you have just so much more depth within you. You're not just going by the last state you're in. So for example, let's say you're in a descent after into correction, you'll also still be in an ascent at the same time. So you could say externally you're in a descent, but internally you're still in an ascent.
well, that sounds pretty crazy. Pardon my French. An ascent and a descent at the same time. The descent internally and the ascent externally, or both, vice versa.
The idea is you're basically always in a state of greatness internally. And externally, it changes from state.
That becomes a permanent feature.
Exactly. You basically have internal alignment at all times. And externally, there are situations of tension and alignment that you have to do externally, but you're basically sort of internalizing new additional states. You're just growing.
So you can never be rattled by any corporeal event.
Well, you can be rattled externally. Your body can still be rattled. If you're, for example, a person who gets into tension easily externally, you'll still get into tension easily externally after into correction. But the idea is internally, you'll just be rock solid. So your body might shake, but your mind is clear.
I have a question, Zaka, regarding externality and internality. The externality, is that the past or the future? I was a little bit confused with that.
So we can go back to that, where we talked about it. Yeah.
But Sakai, that wouldn't be a problem because what matters is our state of mind and our internality. So even if our body reacts whatever, would still remain our calmness internally, which is the important thing.
I agree. And the thing is, you'll actually find that there is an advantage of externally being in situations of tension. The idea is that emotions aren't a bad thing. If, when you're, parenting, you can't just, say to your children that they've done something bad and show them a very calm posture. You have to show them externally like you're rattled and like it really bothers you what they've done. So the idea is that the same thing, if someone, for example, let's say tries to attack you, you don't want to show a calm posture and say, yeah, I don't mind. You should show you mind. It's important to show people, responses. A person doesn't show external responses. We normally say they're sick. So the idea is you still want your externality to change according to the environment, but you want your internality to be rock solid. So what it says here is that the internality is the past, and the externality is basically the present, and also the future. So what happens is when you're experiencing a situation, you're always using your past, which is your current state, to experience that present state from your externality. Right? It's like by the time the information comes into your senses, it's already the past. And whatever you're dealing, your internal state will always be a past state. You're never dealing with yourself in the future. You're always dealing with yourself in the past. And new information is coming through your externality and coming in contact with your internality. It will affect that internality accordingly. But the idea is you're constantly having that meeting between that past and present state.
And how it will be affected is the future?
So the idea is that the future comes into play when you have a goal. So that is, when you have a goal, you have a future, you have a imagination, a picture of what that future is. right? And then what you're trying to do is you're not trying to move yourself forward using your internality, which is your past. Rather, you're trying to use the attraction of your future, of what you're reading or imagining it to be in the future, and not where you currently are. The thing is, what becomes hard is that, well, if you can imagine it, doesn't mean you're already there. So the idea is that it depends how much you're actually able to sense you're in it, and that's what faith above reason is, where faith is really trying to live in the future, even though in the present your reason is inconsistent to it. So I normally give the example of, let's say someone wins the lottery and they're immediately excited, and someone could say, well, you don't actually have any money right now. You might get it in the future, but currently you have nothing. So why are you so happy? The reason he's happy is because it's a corporeal example of faith above reason, where faith is that he will have money and he's sure of it with confidence. And therefore, even though he hasn't got it yet, he so much feels that confidence that he feels in the present without the money that he's already rich because he will have money in the future.
So there is a still future state that people at the end of correction can reach.
Yeah, well, it's called end of correction, not end of expression. So the idea is after end of correction is actually when you actually start living, because then you can move from states of expression from one another. The idea of end of correction is when you love yourself and you're no longer fighting with your desires. So what normally happens to us before end of correction is we're constantly faced with situations where we're sabotaging our success. We have basically splintered desires. We think we want one thing, well, actually want another. And because of that fight in between them, that's when things don't work out. The idea is that at end of correction, you're no longer fighting with yourself. So your desires that you have are pristine, they're clean, they're concise. And then you're just dealing with the situations you actually want to experience, and not trying at the same time to experience a situation, stop yourself from sabotaging yourself. So it's end of correction, not end of expression. We've got here a diagram to show a few of the differences before end of correction and after end of correction. So it is before end of correction, we start where basically what happens is our internality, let's say we're in a state of smallness, manifests externally into a state of smallness. So every time we're in a situation of tension externally, it's because we're in a situation of tension internally, and it's manifesting externally. And then what we do is we collect discernments from that externality and internalize them. Because the problem is we can't actually see our internality. So what we need to do is we need to use our externality to collect discernments to change our internality. So internality manifests into externality, and discernments from externality are internalized accordingly. And then after end of correction, you have a situation where you've got all those states that you've corrected beforehand. They basically become like a stack within you, revealed within you. So you become like multifaceted. And then what happens is your internality could be in greatness, but your externality now could be in smallness. It could be basically it doesn't have to be the highest of the stack. And your externality can actually be a lower level in the stack. And then the idea is that instead of beforehand where you were collecting discernments, now what you're collecting is experiences. You're not having to collect specific information. You can collect the whole experience into you. Because you're corrected, there's no worry that you're going to internalize something incorrect. So you can actually enjoy the whole experience within you, because you're sort of designed that you can know what to invert and what to keep the same when you're internalizing that experience. And then finally, you can also do expression. And there's two kinds of expression. There's expression when we normally compare it to alignment, which what that means is alignment is when things are going well. So normally what happens, things go well, and we're like, wow, that went well. That's alignment. Expression compared to that alignment is when you're sensing what's going to happen before it actually manifests. So you could say expression is when you know what is internal and you know how it's going to manifest into the externality before it does. And then that's expression. That's the expression compared to alignment. The second part of expression is after integration, you can start, and we get a taste of this in greatness, 2.2 after the barrier. where you can not only just see what's going to happen in the future, but you can actually dictate it. You can actually desire it. You can basically use your sense of self as the creator. You can only do this as a sense of self as the creator. That's the limitation of the first restriction. What you can do is, for example, you can focus your desire on somebody and basically make them vulnerable for your thoughts or desires to affect them. So you could say the power of a Kabbalist is the power of vulnerability, where it not only can it be vulnerable itself, where it can be sensitive to situations, but it can also make other people vulnerable for its effect, for its influence. That's called shining a light on someone.
What do you mean make other people vulnerable?
So it is that normal people feel that they have control of themselves, and the idea is that the Kabbalists can take advantage of that and basically make the other person vulnerable internally without the person knowing. And then he can enhance situations that normally the person wouldn't think that they would have access to. So for example, when a Kabbalist is dealing with, let's say, someone who's going through a certain state, they can make them go through that state quicker because they can basically make them vulnerable and have more influence on them accordingly.
And all of these done for egoistic reasons?
No, they're done for altruistic reasons. This is where your sense of self is the creator, not the ego. You can't do this if your sense of self is the ego. Since the ego is the will to receive can only receive, it can attract situations. And if it's attracting correctly, that's when we say that the ego is corrected. But when your sense of self is as the creator, as the will to bestow, then you're working on expression, you're working on manipulation of the ego, of the will to receive. That's what the creator does. It's a control mechanism on the will to receive. So when you become the creator, you get those abilities.
What's the limitation of the control? How far can you go?
I guess you're going to have to find out. The idea is that you increase your internal power and you increase your expression. It's not written clearly in any book of how to do expression or the limitations of it. So I wouldn't know.
Well, how do you do expression? Do you focus your desire on somebody? What's like sort of the steps that you do?
So you're going to focus the desire to bestow within you, right? You can only, of course, do this after the barrier. You get a small taste of it in greatness, and then it's basically disabled until end of correction, until those phases of 4.1 and above. And what you're doing is you're focusing your desire as the creator on a person. And it doesn't matter if you're talking with them or not talking with them. It could be someone anywhere in the world. And you can basically make them vulnerable and enhance their states accordingly.
I actually thought about this today. I would say also with some people, you don't want to do that to them. You don't want to enhance their states. You feel like you want to keep them in a certain state. They don't need to advance. How does it work? Sort of.
That is true as well. That is true as well. Sometimes you will, you could say, delay the advancement of someone because you know they're not ready for it. So even though they're trying really hard to move forward, you know that they're not ready for it. So you can actually delay them to give them more horizontal advancement instead of vertical advancement.
It's like weight training. It's okay. Resistance. Make it stronger.
Exactly. The idea is you're always advancing. The question is, are you advancing vertically or horizontally? So vertically is when you're going through the phases, and horizontally is when you're increasing your experience in a phase.
Right. That's like Conan. He had to push that thing around in the circle, remember? Made him big and strong.
We have another slide. These are basically all the phases we go through after the barrier. So when we
but the Kabbalist can only influence like the people he knows.
That is true. That is true. He's only going to influence the people he knows. But then the question is, why would he want to influence someone that he doesn't know? The light only works on a vessel, so if there's no vessel that it knows, what's it going to use the light on? So we've got the phase of, sorry, go for it.
I thought that the Kabbalistic corrections in which the whole world would advance by influencing those events.
So there's a general corrections. We're talking here about specific corrections. So there's a general correction you can do that's on the entire reality, you could say, and then there are specific corrections what you can do on specific people. So these are all the phases after the barrier. So when we cross the barrier, we basically we have 3 days of emptiness, and then we get our first screen. Our first screen gives us the prosuf, the face of Gilgalta, which is basically Keter, crown. Then we go to Ab, which is Chochmah, wisdom. Then Sag, Bina, understanding. Matiferet, beauty, and then finally Bon, Malchut, kingdom. And in each one, we basically go through a descent. We go through a emptiness of our power, and then we get a new degree of power. Normally, it goes in descending order. So it goes from the top to the bottom. So from feeling a great amount of sensation of power to it descending accordingly. Then when we reach into the phase 2, we basically enter the world of Nikudim, which is called deficiencies. We cross the parsa, and we go through the states of smallness, which is katnut, greatness, which is gadlut, and then we go through breaking the vessels, shvirat kelim, and then we build atzilut. And then when we finish building atzilut, then we enter atzilut, which is phase 3, and then we build all the phases of atzilut in our protection. And then when we finish that that creation of all those phases within Atzilut, all those discernments and vessels of power, then we start working in phase 4 on the tikkun, on the correction, where we first raise Bariah into Atzilut, then Yetzirin into Atzilut, and then finally Asiya into Atzilut. So it's creation, formation, and action. We put them in Atzilut, and then we basically reach end of correction, which is Kvar Tikkun.
And what gets us there is basically the first amount of light we received in Galgalta, like the Reshimot is what drives us.
So it's the combination of the internal driving of the Reshimot, the memories. They go from Galgalta when the light leaves, but also from the environment, of course.
So basically, it's like we felt in Galgalta so good with all that light that we want to experience it again.
Yeah, and that's what we go through in Ab, Sagman, and Bon. And then we start to shift, we go basically below the Tabor, the navel, and we start dealing with that phase 4, that egoistic desire that we put a restriction on it when we pass the barrier. We basically go down to it and break it into 2 parts. We've got the GE, which is smallness, and we've got the G with Echab, which is greatness. Then we go through breaking the vessels when our G falls into the Echab, and that's what we're doing afterwards, what we read in the article, of going through the sorting and correction accordingly. And then when we've finished that correction, then our stony heart is corrected. We get a flesh heart, it's called, and we're basically at end of correction, and then we're working mostly on expression.
And the phases after the barrier resemble the phases before the barrier, or just there's no correlation?
So there's the structure of unformed chaos, darkness, and spirit, but the actual phases themselves are different. So for example, in 3.3 before the barrier, we go through our pain point. In 3.3 after the barrier, that's not what we're going through. So it's a different stage. We're dealing with different desires. So what we're doing before the barrier is building a desire to get the quality of bestowal. So we're basically building our ego. And then after the barrier, we're actually dealing with the maturity of our screen to handle our ego.
This is the training you talked about, right? This is the training, the employee of the system?
Yeah, so the training is basically from phase 1 to phase 2. That's the training. And then the tryouts are from phase 2 to phase 3. Then you go to a second training from phase 3 to phase 4, and then you finally have the final battle.
Well, all I could say is like, wow. But where do we get that fleshy heart? Is that at the end of a C in there?
So we basically we get the flesh heart at the end of correction itself.
Right there, after phase 4 is completed.
Exactly. In phase 4, we go through breaking of a Rishon in 4.4.1. We go through Shimon from the market in 4.4.3. We have like a breathing room in between of one phase of 4.4.2. And then we reach into correction at 4.4.4.
I'm only seeing 3 phases there, Berea, Yetzirah, and Asiya.
Right, so that's basically 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. And then in 4.4, you're basically going over them again, you could say, in a different sort of intensity.
I hear the Shimon of the market's a tough one, huh?
Yeah. In Shimon from the market, basically what you're having is you're feeling a situation of losing everything. But then, which is basically like the backside, a total power down, and then you just get powered up again. It's like the final, inserting of, correcting all your power phases, and then.
So that's in the Yetzirah of phase 4.
That happens. The Shimon of the market is in 4.4.3.
On the diagram, is that Yetzirah?
No, it's not on the diagram. It's not on the diagram. So Berea creation is, we raise that in 4.1. Yetzirah formation, we raise that in 4.2. And then Asiya action, we raise in 4.3. And then you have that final corrections in 4.4.
Well, why isn't that illustrated?
I didn't add it in.
If I may ask.
Yeah, I should have added it in. Basically, what we're doing is from after the breaking of vessels, we're just constantly trying to differentiate what do I feel as GE, as the creator, and what do I feel as the ego, a hub. We're basically constantly discerning those differences.
Right.
And that's when we can truly love ourselves. That's what ender correction is, when you love yourself, because then you're no longer thinking a certain desire is, a desire of altruism when it's actually egoism. And you're not trying to think that desire of egoism is actually altruism.
But that begins as soon as we go across the border, right? The barrier. It's, we get that perception of a soul versus ego. And then we have to clean that.
What we're doing before the barrier is basically accepting our playground for work and really seeing what we're going to be correcting. So before the barrier, you're not actually correcting anything. You're just seeing what you're going to be correcting. And then after the barrier, you actually start doing the actual corrections themselves. First go through their training, then you try it out a bit, you see that you fail, you build your fortress, and then you can actually do the corrections from there.
Wow. There's so much more than I ever thought, you know what I mean? I had no conception of this.
I think that the importance for someone, let's say, is before the barrier is watching this, it's not the details that really matter. What matters is to understand that ender correction is not something, magical, something, a fantasy. It's basically bringing it down to earth and saying, ender correction is when you love yourself, which means that if you're not at ender correction, you don't love yourself. And you have to discern that and see, is that correct or not? You might think you do love yourself. And then the question is, why is this, distance? Why is it ender correction? Is love yourself, and if you haven't reached ender correction, why can you think that you already do?
But when one watches one's mind and how it works, it is clear as water how one doesn't love oneself. Like one is attracting all types of things that that at first one thinks that they are feeling, and then when they reach, they're just pain.
Right, so that's part of the sorting. Right, part of the sorting is figuring out which desires are for power, which are basically tension, and which desires are for fulfilling, which is not tension.
And when we get that tension, we ask for more power to handle it.
Exactly. Tension is basically a backside of power, which is the face. So the idea is that when you're experiencing a situation of tension, your first response is wanting to escape that tension. It doesn't matter if you externally escape it or not. The question is, are you trying to escape it internally? And it is not to escape it. It's not like if someone's running after you with a knife, don't say, oh, I shouldn't run away from tension. I'll stand and wait for him to stab me. Of course not. Externally, you have to behave like a normal human being. We're talking about internally. Do you want to run away from these situations, or do you actually want to correct them and correct the issue internally? It's like instead of taking aspirin when you've got a headache, sometimes you will take aspirin when you've got a headache. But if it's repeating itself, there's probably an underlying reason that you need to take care of, and you should take care of that, and then you won't need the aspirin in the first place.
Right. And this is like by asking for more power, you may be able to align this tension. Right?
Exactly. And it's like, when we were children, when we were babies, getting up, I remember watching my son trying to get out of bed, and it was just so much pain, and he would cry because he was trying to stand up. And, as adults, we have no problem walking. We don't see it as a problem. As a child, it's like, oh, I have to walk, that's so far. And, when we're adults, it's so easy to walk. So the idea is that situations of tension when we were younger, it was very hard for us to handle. When we're older, it's easy. So the idea is to able to handle that internal tension as well.
What's interesting is basically the way I see it is alignment, which is like internality. You could say is the past as well, which is alignment. And basically externality is your future/present. And basically, which is the tension, which is externality, is the way I see it. And basically, you can reach more of your future with more tension.
Exactly. The idea is that the more tension that is revealed to you in your future, if you convert that, internalize it from tension to power, then first of all, you're able to handle those situations that reappear, right? New situations of tension, you'll need more power to handle those. But if they're reoccurring, you're able to already handle them.
But it's basically the tension itself is a sort of mechanism, is a way to reach outside of the past, because, internality is your past. So to reach anything out more than that is basically externality. It's tension.
Exactly.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, my mind is blown right now. It's great to have these discernments from you post-barrier people.
I think we'll stop here and enter the afterthought.
So there's another T-bone steak video here.
Yeah.